So now that we're done inputting the images, our article is almost done except for the bibliography. And we could leave it like this, the way it is, a single column type article. But I'm going to show you how to make it into 2 columns, and then we might have to adjust some of the width of the images as well. Just because normally a lot of articles, scientific articles and things, are done in the 2-column format. So I'm just going to show you how to do that, and we'll also enhance the title here as well. So first thing what we're going to do is go to the main tech file here, and we're going to input up here with the document class another parameter called 2-column. And I'm just going to actually take that space out, and I'm going to compile it. And you'll see what that does. So it's made 2 columns, but we have to clean some stuff up here. So for example, the abstract, I'm going to remove the title and the space right here, this vertical space, so that it'll move everything up because you don't want this big space here. So that's one thing. We also will have to adjust some of the widths of our table and images to make it just the text width for that column. So that's a pretty easy fix. So we'll go through and do that, and then after we'll just have to input the bibliography. I'll also show you how to maybe make this title bold, and we'll enhance that a little bit as well. So first of all, let's go to the abstract. So I'm going to insert the code now to take out the title. So I'm just going to hit enter here. And we're going to start with something called renew command. And then the command abstract name. And then another curly bracket to take out the vertical space. So vertical space. And then we're going to take out the vertical space with this command here, the baseline skip, and then another curly bracket. I think that's it. We'll compile that and see what happens. So there we go. So now we have no title there, and we just have the abstract. But I feel like it almost looks like the rest of the text. So let's also italicize this by just highlighting it and hitting Control-I on your keyboard. And then it will insert the text IT there. So now it's all italicized, so it stands out from the rest of the text. Okay, so now we have our article in 2 columns. I'd also like to, before we go and adjust some of these images, to add a fancy header. So what that will do is put the section title and numbers and things like that at the top of the page on every page, and it will make it look a little more professional. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and then we'll adjust the images. So go back to main tech, and you're going to add a package called fancy header. And then we're going to specify the page style that we want is fancy. Like so. Now let's recompile it and see what it did. So on the first page it doesn't do anything because that's like its title page. But then when you go to the next one, you're going to see you're in the second section here, the sun's interior, and we're on the core, and then we're on the corona on the next one. Then we go into the sunspot, solar flares, and prominences, and then our sun's life cycle at the end. But we also have a warning here at the top indicating that the height of the header is too small, so we need to increase this. So to do this, we need to add a set length parameter here, similar to what we did for the indentation up here. So I'm just going to hit enter there, and we're going to say the head height. And I'm going to specify it to be at least 15 points. So let's compile that again. And you can see that the error went away up here, or the warning disappeared. And we still have our header, our fancy headers here. Okay, so now let's go and adjust the size of this table. So let's go to the introduction. And one way to do this is before this tabular environment is to use the command /small. So this is just a faster way to do it. You could also try to adjust the size of the columns and the font and things like that, but let's try this first. So when I did that, I don't know if you noticed here on the right hand side, it made it slightly smaller, and now it's lined up better with the text here on the second column. So let's now go to the images here. So let's go to the first one in the solar interior section. So let's go up here, and it also gave us a little warning here. It's telling us that it's too wide. So to resize this figure here, what we're going to do is we're going to set the width to the column width, so the column of text, using width equals column width command. Let's recompile that and see if it worked. And yes, it did. So now this figure is within the width of the column of text. So let's go and do that for all our images that are overflowing into the next column. Okay, so looking at the photosphere picture, it looks like it fits within the text width, but it's in the chromosphere section or subsection. So we do need to put the float barrier here. And now when you recompile it, you can see that it moved the chromosphere text, but now we have this blank spot. So we're going to leave that for now. We might come back after we adjust all the images. We can see that the image here does seem to fit pretty nicely. We could actually make it the column width, but that might actually extend it too much, like make it too big. So I'm just going to leave it as is at the moment. Now let's look at the next image. So we want the corona one to be in the corona section. So let's see where it is. So here we have the corona, and it put it up here. So it would look nicer if it could be down there, but we're going to have to make it pretty small. And it does seem to fit within the text width. So let's look at the next one, solar wind. So that one's overflowing a bit, so I'm going to adjust that. So width equals column width. And now let's see where it put it. Okay, so we have the solar wind there, and then here's the image of it on the next page. So that's a little bit better. And now let's look at the sunspot, solar flares, and prominences section. So we have sunspots, and we have our sunspot picture there, and it seems to fit within the width. Now solar flares is on this page. I'm going to see if we can just adjust that a little bit, just because it would look a little bit better if it's up there. So let's go to solar activity and go to the solar flares right here. So what do we have here? Scale is 0.9. Let's make it 0.8. Okay, and that did it. So it moved it up here. And then prominences is here, and that's fitting nicely. And so this one right here does need to be adjusted. So let's go to sun life cycle. So I made that the width of the column. It's going to make it pretty small now, but I think it's still readable once this PDF document is full screen. So there we go. It takes some adjusting, so the only one that I would like to fix would be this one. So let's try to just adjust these maybe slightly. Maybe if I bring the Corona one down a little bit in size, because I would like to fix this part. So let's make that 0.8. Okay, so that actually brought the solar wind picture up. And let's bring the sunspots image down a bit as well, or the photosphere, sorry. So I'll make that I'll make that 0.8 as well. And let's bring the corona down slightly more. And a little bit more. So I'd have to make it 0.5 to fit down here because of the caption. And the same with the photosphere one. So let's just try that. So now that's up there. Corona actually could go a little bit larger now. So it takes some trial and error, as you can see. And the solar wind one, I think it's a little too wide, so I'm going to just scale that instead. We'll make it 0.6. One more thing I'm going to show you is how you can add that title image that I talked about in the beginning of this course. If you want to add that to your title here in the article, like maybe as kind of like a logo on the left-hand side or something like that, that's one of the easiest ways to do it. It can get more complicated if you want to put it behind the text or put it in the header here. So I'm just going to show you a quick way to do it. It's just optional. You don't have to do that for this article example. So what you have to do is add a new package called Adjust Box. And then once you've added that, you can add the following code to your title environment. And I'm going to just add it and I'll explain it as I go along what each thing does. So instead of just including the include graphics, you're going to include adjust include graphics. This is going to allow it to adjust to center around the title, so I'll show you that in a second. So it's called ADJ, or Adjust Include Graphics. So now it comes up, so just hit that. And what we're going to put inside here is very similar to the include graphics environment. So we're going to put some parameters in the beginning and then indicate what image we want to insert. Okay, so I'm first going to include a scaling feature here before the curly brackets in square brackets. So I'm going to set it at 20% of the original size of the image. And if you need a refresher of what image we're talking about, it is just this one right here. And then I'm going to put a comma. And another parameter I'm going to include is a vertical align feature called v-align. And I'm going to set that to C, which means center. And then I'm going to specify the image that we want. And let's now compile that just to see what it does first before I add one more thing. Okay, so you can see it added the little image of the sun here on the left, but it's really close together with the text. So in between this text that we put in bold and the image, I'm going to insert a horizontal space of 1 point. And now when you recompile it, you can see that it added a little space between the title and the image. So this is kind of like adding a little logo or something like that there, if you'd like. So I just wanted to show you that. I think going forward though, I kind of like it without the image there. So I'm going to take this out for the rest of the course to show you a few other little things. But if you'd like to include that, just also make sure you go through your article and adjust anything, because it always adjusts spacings when you add something like this. So I'm going to delete that out now and put it back to the way it was. And we don't need this package. Okay, so that's where we were before we added that in. Okay, so now we've at least filled all the spaces. So it takes a little trial and error, as you can see, and I've done this in real time, so this is what I'd be doing if I was just doing it on my own, trying to figure out how to best fit everything. Some improvements that could be made, maybe this image could be cropped, so if you'd like to do that, crop it closer to the sun's disk there instead of having all the black. You can go ahead and do that. And then these images, now they fit nicely there, so there's no white space anymore. And these ones are also fitting, and these ones are actually bigger, but it still fits pretty nicely. And this one we did have to adjust because it was too large. So now I want to go and put in the bibliography in the next video, and I'll show you how to do that. And then I think we're pretty much done for this example course on how to create an article in LaTeX using